the United States will be deploying a guided missile destroyer and fighter jets to help defend the United Arab Emirates following missile attacks by the Houthi rebels from Yemen. The deployment follows a call between the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al-Nahyan. The US will be sending warships, fighter jets to the United Arab Emirates after the Houthi rebel drone attacks on a couple of oil installations in Abu Dhabi last month, in which 2 Indian civilians as well as 1 Pakistani was killed. Let me go across to Srinjoy for more updates. Srinjoy, this is a big development given the fact that the United Arab Emirates and the Saudis have been in fact striking against the Houthi strongholds in Yemen. The Houthi, of course, are being backed by Iran. So this is a very strong message being sent to Iran by the US.
Yes, this is an extremely important development, primarily because this means that the Americans are involved. If you moved a guided missile destroyer, if you moved fighter planes to UAE, then it's a very clear sign that this is a warning from America, not just to the Houthi rebels, but also the people who are supporting the Houthi rebels in the area. And that has to be kept in mind. Now we have to see what happens. One, the first thing is, do the anti-missile systems continue to work as well as they do? If they do, at least the civilian population in those areas are saved. Secondly, of course, if these attacks continue, as they could well, will there be an escalation? Because very clearly the Americans are making it very clear that, look, we will not tolerate any escalation. The Saudi and the UAE people are our allies, and therefore we will protect them. So if there are further attacks, then there is bound to be escalation.
I'm also being joined by Maruf Raza. Mr. Raza, the United States has now stepped up its supply of arms and ammunition to the United Arab Emirates in order to defend itself against the recent attacks that we witnessed there from the Houthi rebels who are backed by Iran. So this is a very strong message also being sent to Iran.
You see, I personally believe that the messaging is more for Iran than for the Houthi rebels. The US and the UAE have long been very serious military partners. The UAE placed orders to the range of about $500 billion worth of weapons platforms over the next 10 years to the government of President Trump when Trump visited the Middle East, along with the Saudis, who also pitched in with about $500 to $600 billion worth of weapons platforms. Much of that is being available to these countries. It's not that they're short of military platforms, but quite clearly what the drone attacks have shown that the high-tech military platforms that is often sold by Western countries to countries in the Middle East and even to India do not necessarily provide protection against stray drone attacks which can come anytime, anywhere, and can be very unsettling to the country's security and its local population, and destroy, for example, in the case of UAE, its reputation that it's building up as a big investment hub. And in the Expo UAE, which is right now on, they're looking to attract more and more investments. So that is one. The second thing is that the US wants to put, again, indirect military pressure on Iran, because the JCPOA talks to try and get Iran on board as per the old nuclear deal struck during Obama's time hasn't made much headway because of very strong positions being taken by both sides and because of the China-Russia factor, which are supportive of Iran's stance. As far as dealing with Houthi rebels, you have to put boots on the ground, and that in Yemen. You cannot sit and protect the skies from Saudi Arabia and UAE. Neither of the two countries, despite their huge investment, have the kind of military wherewithal to protect the skies completely. The Saudis and the UAE, as recently as 2 weeks ago, have bombed the hell out of the Houthi rebels, and not so much the local population there. Actually, Yemen is a disaster in humanitarian terms, and it's a shame that the UN Security Council has done nothing about it.